Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Youth Priorities Budget Summit on today, February 28th, 2026. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming and taking time out of your busy schedule, as this is a very important event to involve youth voices in our budget. All right, so I now call this meeting to order at exactly 11:13 a.m. We now take roll call. District 1,
Present.
District 2,
Present.
District 3,
Present.
District 4,
Present.
District 5,
Present.
District 6,
Present.
District 7,
Present.
District 8,
Present.
District 9,
Present.
District 10,
Present.
and citywide I am present. All right, we have 4. All right, next we will now be approving the consent calendar for last year's budget summit, approving the minutes. All right, do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I care about the motion to.
Do we have any seconds?
I feel second motion.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? This motion passes. All right, moving on. We're now going to start our presentation before we take the forum first for and okay. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on any of the agenda items? No, there are not. Okay, now we will start our presentation. All right, once again, welcome everyone to the Youth Priorities Budget Summit. My name is Nan Kudreski, and I am the Citywide Commissioner, as well as the Chair of the Citywide of the San Jose Youth Commission. All right, so. All right, before we begin, let me walk you through today's agenda. We'll begin with a welcome from the Youth Commission, as well as some opening remarks from our very own Councilmember Kamei. Thank you for coming. After that, we will present the results of our Youth Priority Survey. Afterwards, we'll move into priority breakout groups, where you'll have the chance to dive deep into the specific issues at each of your groups. The day will conclude with peer presentations, a community conversation with Councilmember Campos and Cohen, and finally, a vote on our top priorities and evaluation of today's event. All right, so before we dive in, I'd like to introduce our dedicated Youth Commission team. We represent all 10 districts of San Jose, including a citywide position. Each commissioner brings unique perspectives and experiences to serve our city. So right now, we're going to go through, starting with District 1, Commissioner Deschler.
Hi, my name is Anushka, and I am the Commissioner for District 1. And I'm also on the Executive Board for Youth Commission, where I handle communication. It's really nice to meet you all.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Neha. I'm the District 2 Youth Commissioner and the Vice Chair of the San Jose Youth Commission. I represent District 2 and I go to Presentation High School, and this is my 3rd and final year on the Youth Commission.
My name is Adam Sanchez. I represent District 3. I go to Hillbrook Upper School, and I'm an 11th grader. This is my 2nd year on the Youth Commission.
Hey everyone, I'm Akshada. I'm currently a senior at Pinwell Hills High School. This is my 4th year in my YAC, and I'm a youth commissioner this year. Thank you guys so much for coming today. It's great to see you all.
Hi everyone, my name is Ali Guerrero Fernandez, and I'm the Commissioner for District 5. I go to Diaz College, and this is my 1st year on the Youth Commission.
Hi everyone, I'm Fiona Canfield. I represent District 6. I'm a sophomore at Notre Dame High School, and this is my 1st year on the Youth Commission. Thanks for coming.
Hi everyone. Sorry, my name is David. I am a senior at Willow Glen High School, and I represent District 7.
Hi guys, I'm Micah. I represent District 8 of the Youth Commission, and I go to Evergreen Valley High School. I'm senior. Thank you guys for coming out.
Hi everyone, I'm Ruby. I'm the District 9 Commissioner. I'm a senior at Presentation High School.
Hi everyone, I'm Kyle. I'm the District 10 Commissioner. I'm a student at Pioneer High School, and I'm a junior. And this is my rookie year.
Kyle actually has experience being on the YAC for more than 2 years. All right, so I said before, my name is Marion. I'm the chair and I represent Citywide. This is my third year involved with DAC and the Youth Commission. Next up, Neha is going to present the structure of the Youth Commission.
Okay. This is a little something. Okay, hope you guys can hear me. Youth Commission serves as a vital link between the youth and city government. And as you can tell from this organizational chart, we advise the mayor and city council while maintaining really strong relationships with various city departments and community partners. And we do all of this through the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee. All right, so what does the Youth Commission do? Established over 50 years ago, the Youth Commission represents approximately 250,000 youth in San Jose under the age 19. Our work focuses on three main areas: developing policy recommendations, hosting events, and leading youth advisory councils, or YACs, which many of you are in. And we're proud to serve as the official advisory group to mayor and city council, working to ensure that youth voices are heard around the city. All right. The impact of our work is reflected in the numbers that you see on the slide here. Last year, our Youth Advisory Council members and youth commissioners contributed over 1,085 service hours in dedication to Youth Commission activities and events. YAC members across districts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 averaged 16 hours per member on activities such as attending YAC meetings, supporting district events, and conducting policy research. Our 11 youth commissioners dedicate an average of 51 hours to commission activities, including our general meetings, coordinating YAC meetings, conducting community outreach, and crafting policy recommendations. I'm gonna pass it over to Marion to talk about our work plan now.
All right, so each year we have a work plan, and so the fiscal year 2025 to 2026 this year was written to ensure the Youth Commission's voices would be heard through advisory comments and recommendations on youth priorities. Through youth-focused outreach and their lived experiences, basically outreach to get information, the Commission identified priorities such as safe and inclusive opportunities for young people to celebrate their culture in a well-established community, and also exploring topics of education and career support services which should be available to all. Next up, we have our opening remarks from Councilmember Kamei.
All right, it is now my honor to introduce District 1 Councilmember Rosemary Kamei, who will provide opening remarks for today's summit, as Marion said. Councilmember Kamei was elected to the San Jose City Council in 2022 and sworn into office January 2023 to represent District 1 in West San Jose. She served as vice mayor through 2024, and before joining City Council, Councilmember Kamei dedicated 17 years as director of the Santa Clara Valley Water District, and 7 years as a trustee at the Santa Clara County Board of Education. She previously served as a Chief Development and Innovation Officer at the Silicon Valley Education Foundation, demonstrating her longstanding commitment to education and youth development. Councilmember Kamei holds degrees in political science and urban and regional planning, and is a proud mother and grandmother who lives in District 1 with her husband. Please join me in welcoming Councilmember Kamei.
Thank you so much. It's so delightful to join you. I've been doing this and coming and just seeing what the Youth Commission has been doing for the last, this is entering my fourth year. So I've been a council member now 3 years and a little bit. It always amazes me how energized and wonderful all of the work that you do. So first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring, because this is where it really begins in terms of civic engagement. So I'm really delighted to see so many of you here. I have a question for you as you start thinking of budgets. How many have a personal budget at home that you have to kind of like have, okay, it may be something you want to think about, because, you know, it's nice to have, you know, parents or someone to take care of you. But I remember when my son first went to college, he said to me, "Mom, I only need $50, $50 a month. I never spend any money, $50 a month. So when he went to college, he realized, you know what? You need quarters for the washing machine. You need to buy your own soap. You need to, you wanna have pizza, you wanna go to a movie? That's money, right? So he had to learn how to, have line items on things that you spend, just everyday stuff. So you may wanna think about what it would be like for you to have your own little budget for yourself. Because as you go from high school to college, it is something that you need to think about in terms of how money is spent. So as you go through this budgeting process with the city, certainly think about how some of the budgeting happens. And budgeting is really a guide, it sort of, you look at what your priorities are and you try to figure out, well, these are the areas that I believe are important. And therefore, because you can't do everything and because you can't have, we can't print the money down in the basement. We only have limited dollars. We need to say where it is that we want to put dollars. This year, we started our budget process actually back in October. When we look at closing the books of the previous year, because we're on fiscal year, so our year starts July 1st to June 30th. So we look at how did we end with the revenues, with the money that we spent, and then we kind of see, well, how does the forecast? We do, the city manager's office does a 5-year forecast to take a look. And as we look forward, we see, well, are we close to what we expected? And that's where your budget comes in, right? It isn't, just because you have a budget doesn't mean, like if you have $100 budget, doesn't mean, oh, I'm gonna spend it all. It is a guide to say, these are the things that you're planning on spending on. And we found out that at the end of the day, we're short, right? We are not getting as much revenue as we thought. And sales tax and property tax and the revenue sources are less than what we thought they were gonna be. So this year, we are in a deficit of anywhere from 55 to 65 million. That's a lot of money. Do you think that's a lot of money? Yeah, that's a lot of money, right? So that means that something has to give, right? If you have $100, but you're spending and you're like into the $200, you're gonna have to figure out, well, I don't have enough money to spend for the $200. I gotta figure out what is the priority. So today, as you start thinking about what it is that the Youth Commission has as a priority, then I think that it's important to say, okay, you may have 10 priorities and maybe the top 3 get the money or get the funding, right? So it's a really exciting process. You constantly have to iterate and check and go back and check. We do mid-year budgeting as well to find out if halfway through the year, how does it look? Are we looking good? Are we ahead? Are we behind? What's going on? And there are a lot of implications because as you may know that you can't do everything. And then you gotta decide, well, what's gonna get cut? And I think that's really difficult because last year, for example, we had previously been funding senior nutrition and, of course it's important. So you have to make trade-offs and balance, how much you're gonna be able to give. This year, we have some grants that we give to neighborhood associations, right? And they all do good work. They all participate in the community, but we only had $250,000 and, the requests were up to $400,000. So some of them didn't get it. And, so it's a little bit difficult. It isn't as easy as saying, oh, well, like give everybody a little bit, right? It goes through a process. We have had our first budget workshop in January, and what's coming up next is the Mayor's March budget message. That March budget message of the mayor is really important because it sets out the priorities, right? And, it comes out, and we as a city council, discuss it. We say, oh, yes, we agree, no, we don't agree, and by the way, we forgot this and this and this. And so we go through a process of listening and hearing and, making decisions as to what's gonna float up to the top. Public safety is one thing that I know that has always been on our mind. When I started on council, we had 42 priorities. Now we're down to 5. So, and then this year we're splitting one, so we'll get 6. And it's a little bit more targeted. And I think that over the last few years, we've been doing more focus. And so, I hope today, as you go through the exercise, you think about balancing, you know, what are the trade-offs in terms of funding something and not something else? And so, I look forward to, your letter, your, report, and, I wanna add a little bit of something else too. How many of you know who your council member is? Oh, this is impressive. Contact your council members. I know that, Councilmember Campos and Councilmember Cohen are coming as well. But, you know, Councilmember Ortiz was here, I think, last year. There are a couple of others, Councilmember Duan. Know your council member. Reach out to them. Say, hey, I heard from Councilmember Kamei that we should reach out to you, and I'm reaching out. By the way, do you have an internship? Many of us don't, you know, like, are not as active in publicizing it, but, you know, I, for example, will be looking for 2 or 3 interns over the summer, and we work on summer projects. Those are sort of like a little window that you could have into, what is happening at City Hall. So please contact your council member and let them know that you're participating in this budget process. And please take a look at the letter that's sent from the Youth Commission. So with that, I want to say, have a great day and enjoy, your exercises. Thank you very much for inviting me.
All right, thank you so much, Councilmember Kamei. I think having that insight about like budget process at the city level will really help us focus on, you know, the activities that we have planned out today at the budget summit. So we're super grateful for that. Next up, we'll move on to the presentation of the youth priority survey results presented by Commissioners Deshmukh and Canfield, who represent District 1 and District 6.
You guys can all just sit down with your mouth does that mean you sit down? Yes, go sit down. Go sit down in your group. Oh, thanks.
Okay, hi everybody. So we're gonna present our findings from the annual youth priorities survey, which helps inform budget priorities for the coming year. So this survey plays a really important role in making sure that youth voices are heard in city decision making.
To understand our work today, it's important to understand San Jose's youth population. Nearly 30% of our city's almost 1 million residents are under the age of 24, reflecting incredible diversity. For example, 37.5% of our population is Asian, 31% Latino, 24.4% white, and 3% Black or African American.
We know that while San Jose is one of the wealthiest cities in the country, a lot of families are struggling financially. 8.2% of San Jose residents under the age of 18 are below the federal poverty level, compared to 7.4% of the overall population of the city. For families with children under the age of 18, 6.5% live below the poverty level.
Now, let me share some details about our survey methodology. We conducted the survey from November 24th, 2025 to January 20th, 2026, with 37 thoughtfully designed questions. We're proud to report that we received 643 total participants with an 82% completion rate. Our outreach efforts were diverse, with 30 responses through flyers, 510 through email, and 12 through social media. We incentivized participation with the option to enter a drawing for Apple AirPods, which proved effective in encouraging participation.
Our survey captured a diverse cross-section of San Jose youth. The most respondents, 72%, were high school students and 12% were from middle schools. 82% attended public schools and 33% attended school in ESUHSD. The ethnic breakdown shows 47% Asian and Pacific Islander, including Vietnamese. 24% were Hispanic and Latino, and 16% were white. Language diversity is significant, with 55 speaking English at home, 15% speaking Spanish, 10% Indian languages, 7% Vietnamese, and 7% Mandarin or Cantonese. Looking at identity and background, 63% identified as a woman, 28% identified as a man, 13% consider themselves low income, 14% have struggled with their mental health, 9% identify as part of the LGBTQIA community, and 4% identify as non-binary or transgender. Additionally, 23% are part of the first generation in the US, and 7% were born outside of the US, and 10% would be the first in their family to go to college.
Now, taking a look at the geographic spread of responses, we see interesting patterns throughout our city. For school attendance, District 8 shows the highest rate at 19%, while Districts 1, 2, and 7 each have 6%. For residents, District 5 leads at 16%, followed by District 9 at 13%, and District 4 at 12%. This shows that students don't always live where they go to school, and the ripple effect that recent school closures have had.
Our survey identified a lot of critical priorities for San Jose youth using a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is the lowest priority and 5 is the highest. Violence and safety ranked highest for the second year in a row at 4.30 out of 5, with 60% rating it a 5. Housing affordability came in a close second at 4.29, with 56% giving it the highest rating. Poverty and housing insecurity ranked third at 4.18, with 48% ranking it a 5. Meaningful and sustaining jobs ranked fourth at 4.12, with 4.7 rating it highly. Quality educational resource equity came in at 3.99, with 40% giving it a 5. Quality mental health resource equity scored 3.62, with 29 rating it a 5. Environment and climate change scored 3.57, with 26% rating it highest. And transportation scored 3.46, with 23% rating it a 5. And finally, vandalism and graffiti ranked lowest priority at 2.85, with only 11% rating it a 5. So these rankings clearly show that youth are deeply concerned about fundamental safety and economic stability issues in our San Jose community.
Now, comparing these results to previous years, we're actually seeing some notable trends. Violence and safety has remained consistently high, actually increasing slightly from 4.27 to 4.3. Housing affordability is a new category this year at 4.29, reflecting growing concerns about housing costs. Poverty and housing insecurity has decreased slightly from 4.24 to 4.18, but it remains a top concern. We've seen meaningful and sustaining jobs increase significantly from 3.95 to 4.12, showing that job opportunities have emerged as a more significant concern. Educational resources remain steady at 3.99, and mental health resources has decreased from 3.86 to 3.62, though it's still important. Environment and climate change has decreased slightly from 3.68 to 3.57. As has transportation, which remains steady at 3.46. This trend data helps us understand how youth priorities are evolving over time.
Our youth provided thoughtful, actionable solutions to address these priorities. These ideas include making regulations and incentives that require a big percentage of interns and entry-level jobs at large tech and science companies to come directly from people who already reside in the local area. Others suggested career-related opportunities for earning money through the library, where representatives from different careers host workshops to teach knowledge and skills about specific majors. Some called for spaces to reflect with journaling, talking, or just being able to step away. Maybe a room in a library or a comfortable place to sit and take a breath. Youth emphasized safer bike lanes, centers for specific interest groups where you can meet new people, and more libraries across the city. One respondent said, "If I could add one thing to make San Jose better for young people, it would be more safe and accessible youth spaces, like community centers with free programs after school and on weekends. These spaces would give young people a place to study, be creative, play sports, and connect with each other in a positive environment." Another shared, "No phone meetups and more hands-on learning experiences at a young age. For example, trade skills, soap making, home ec sewing, crocheting, or knitting."
When asked whether the local city of San Jose government reflects youth priorities, we found interesting results. Only 6.6% strongly agree, and 26.5% somewhat agree, meaning that 33.1% feel positively about the city's efforts. However, it's notable that 50.6% remain neutral or don't know, and 16.3% disagree to some degree. This suggests an opportunity to better communicate how youth input influences city decisions.
Looking at year-over-year trends, we're seeing interesting movement. Strongly agree responses decreased by 0.9%, and somewhat agree responses decreased by 3.3%. The neutral responses increased by 4.5%, while somewhat disagree remained stable, and strongly disagree decreased by 0.4%. This suggests that while fewer youth are forming strong positive opinions about government responsiveness, there's also been a slight decrease in strong disagreement. The growing neutral category indicates we need to do more to help youth understand and see the impact of their engagement.
Direct quotes from our survey reveal both appreciation and areas for growth. One respondent said, "There is a demonstrated interest in supporting youth. However, actual youth-oriented policies and events can be sparse and limited by areas such as funding." Another shared, "I'm not fully up to date with city politics. I keep up with state, country, and world politics, but I'm not sure where I would begin to get my city politics and news information." One youth noted, "I think that libraries have events for youth that are great. However, I think that more can be done to include more youth into these large tech companies who are recruiting from far away instead of directly in the local area so much." Others expressed mixed feelings. "I think that our city's government does what they can for youth, but I've had plenty of peers that would disagree." And positively, one respondent said, "Yes, youth voices are really heard. These authentic voices provide valuable insight into how we can better serve our youth community."
We also asked youth to rate how safe they feel in different places on a scale of 1 being very unsafe to 5 very safe. Youth felt safest at community centers or libraries, with 43% feeling very safe and another 39% feeling somewhat safe. In their neighborhoods, 43% felt very safe and 36% felt somewhat safe. At school, 37% felt very safe and 42% feel somewhat safe. At extracurricular activities and recreational spaces, 43% feel very safe and 35% feel somewhat safe. However, youth feel least safe on public transportation, where only 5% feel very safe, 19% feel somewhat unsafe, 39% feel neutral, 27% feel somewhat unsafe, and 10% feel very unsafe. In public spaces, only 8% felt very safe, while 31% felt somewhat safe, 29% neutral, 24% somewhat unsafe, and 7% very unsafe. These results highlight the critical need for improved safety infrastructure, particularly in public transportation and public spaces.
When we asked about the biggest concerns about safety in San Jose, gun violence or gang activity topped the list at 23.7%, followed by discrimination or hate crimes at 16.1%. safety on public transit at 14.5%, and bullying or harassment at 13.3%. Immigration enforcement concerns came in at 12.8%, and traffic or pedestrian safety at 12.2%. Finally, a lack of safe places to go came at 7.3%. We also asked whether San Jose has enough safe or welcoming, what we call third spaces, where youth can gather, study, or hang out. The results are concerning. Only 8.7% said yes, there are plenty. 11% said somewhat, but we need more. Nearly half, 49.8% said no, there aren't enough, and 30.5% said they don't know. This clearly shows how we need to expand safe spaces for youth throughout our city.
When we asked youth what they would add to make San Jose better for young people, we received thoughtful and creative responses. One said, if I could add one thing to San Jose to make it better for youth, I would have career-related opportunities for earning money through the library, where representatives from different careers will come host workshops to teach knowledge and skills about specific majors. Another suggested, I would add a space to reflect with journaling, talking, or just being able to step away and spend a few moments alone. Maybe a room in a library or a comfortable place to sit and take a breath. Others call for practical improvements. Safer bike lanes. I bike to school, so the safer the better. And the safer bike lanes are more than likely to make other kids bike to school also. And some focus on community building. A center for specific groups where you can meet new people with the same interests, because a lot of young people now don't feel supported by their parents and need somewhere to go. These ideas demonstrate that youth are solution-oriented and ready to help shape their city.
We asked youth how prepared they feel for life after high school in several key areas, using a scale of 1, not at all prepared, to 5, very well prepared. Youth feel most prepared for balancing work, school, and personal responsibilities, where 19% feel very well prepared and 28% feel mostly prepared. For applying to college or training programs, 15% feel very well prepared and 32% feel mostly prepared. However, significant gaps emerge in other areas. For understanding financial aid, scholarships, and student loans, only 8% feel very well prepared and 21% mostly prepared, while 18% feel not at all prepared. For managing money and budgeting, only 9% feel very well prepared. For finding and applying for jobs or internships, only 7% feel very well prepared, while 17% feeling not at all prepared. These results highlight where we need to focus resources to better prepare youth for their futures.
When we asked about the biggest barriers or challenges that impact feeling prepared for the future after high school, we found that the top 3 barriers are interconnected economic issues. Not knowing what career path to pursue tops the list at 15.97%, followed closely by the cost of college or training programs at 15.79%, and lack of job or internship opportunities at 14.83%. Other significant barriers include lack of information about college or training options at 9.99%, family responsibilities or expectations at 9.21%, and no one to ask for guidance or advice at 8.19%. Mental health concerns were at 7.66%, academic challenges or low grades were at 6.82%, not understanding how to apply for financial aid was at 6.46%, and transportation issues was at 5.08%. So these barriers show us that intervention is most needed to help youth prepare for their futures.
Now, we asked youth which resources would be most helpful to them right now, and the responses were clear. Job shadowing or internship opportunities ranked highest at 16.73%, followed by connections professionals in fields that they're interested in at 15.9%. One-on-one career counseling or coaching came in at 11.01%, financial literacy classes at 10.24%, help understanding college majors and career options at 9.68%. Then, scholarship search assistance came in at 8.39%, Resume and interview prep workshops came in at 7.62%, while college application workshops at 7%. Understanding options for paying for college came in at 6.02%. And finally, information about trade schools and apprenticeships came in at 2.93%. These results show that youth want experience and mentorship, not just information. They want to see and try different careers, connect with professionals, and build real-world skills.
Looking at current student experiences, we see both strengths and challenges. When asked what they're excelling or struggling with this year, we found an interesting split. Unlike past years, when academic performance was nearly equal between those excelling and those struggling, 37% report excelling academically and at school, while only 26% are struggling. 13% are excelling in extracurriculars and activities, while only 4% are struggling with this. And 19% are excelling in social connections and friendships, while 11% are struggling, showing the importance of community support. The biggest shifts have been in balance and time management, with 12% of respondents saying they are struggling, 8% of respondents struggling with college and future planning, and 13% of respondents in mental health and well-being saying they're struggling, suggesting overwhelm and burnout. These results paint a picture of youth who are academically capable but need support in areas like time management, mental health, and future planning.
So now let me summarize our key findings from this year's survey of 643 young people. First, economic security drives everything. 3 of the top 4 priorities are economic issues. 76% plan for college, but only 29% feel prepared for financial aid. The top 3 barriers are career uncertainty, college costs, and a lack of opportunities. Second, there is a critical safety infrastructure gap. Violence and safety are a #1 priority. 80% say San Jose lacks sufficient safe youth spaces, while 37% feel unsafe on public transportation, and 23.7% cite gun violence as their top concern. Third, youth want experience, not just instruction. 32.63% of youth want job shadowing and internships or professional connections. Only 4.9% receive support from a formal organization, while 80% are motivated by passion for helping others. And 28% aspire to healthcare careers. And fourth, there is a growing information gap. 50.6% don't know if the city reflects youth priorities. Young people can't access programs that they don't know exist. We need communication infrastructure through schools and community partners. The Youth Commission will advocate for the integrated investments that address these connected challenges and remove barriers to opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, well, before we move on, I do want to say something. If you found this data interesting, I highly suggest you watch our Youth Commission video recording from this last Monday, as it has a slightly different presentation with a lot more in-depth information, and it draws a lot more conclusions. So if you want to know more about the analysis and how economics, housing, as well as mental health are all intertwined, I highly recommend you check it out. It's on our YouTube page.
All right, and also thank you so much to the youth who provided their insight and experience to our survey, and to Fiona and Yushka for sharing the information that we gathered. And we are now going to move into our breakout session and soon gather in our issue priority groups as well as Pastor Chipotle.
All right, so I'm going to explain our breakout groups. We've organized into 5 priority areas, each led by our dedicated commissioners. First, apologies, guys. There we go, now you can see that. All right, so first off, we have career development, which is led by Commissioners Deschmuck and Guerrero Fernandez. Next, we have educational equity. Actually, I'm gonna point out the tables. So as soon as I call your name, please stand up, wave. So that's our first one, which is career development. Next, we have educational equity over here. with Commissioners Park, you, and Sanchez. Stand up. Wonderful. Okay. Then we have environmental action, which is led by Commissioners Flynn and Canfield. Housing insecurity, led by me and Commissioner Babu in the back. Balance and safety, which is led by Commissioners Pradeep Kumar and Chung here. What table will you be at?
Because this was something that.
with the education.
It's the posters.
Okay, so just so you know, this is educational stuff and that is balance and safety. We have a little bit of a switch up here. All right, each group has a clear mission and deliverables at the end. Your primary goal is to identify specific problems within your topic area and determine one or two key actionable items to solve these problems. The emphasis here is on actionable. We want concrete solutions that can be implemented with proper budget allocation. You'll present your findings to the entire group between 3:15 and 4:15. These will be brief but impactful 3 to 5 minute presentations in whatever format works best for your team. Think of this as your chance to advocate for your solution. You need to convince everyone why your issue matters and why it deserves a bigger budget allocation. Additionally, each group should develop 1 or 2 strategic questions about your problem or proposed solution to ask council members Campos and Cohen during our community conversation. This is your opportunity to get direct feedback and insight from key decision makers in our city. Remember, the goal is to come up with practical, implementable solutions that can make a real difference in our community. We're not just identifying problems, we're creating real solutions. All right, so each of your commissioners is going to lead your group, which means if you have any questions about how things work, you can go ask them. They're well informed.
All right, to ensure productive discussions in our breakout rooms, we have 7 key expectations from everyone. Number 1, everyone participates and no one dominates. There are no right answers and be respectful and let everyone know they can share their ideas. Keep an open mind, stay on topic, and remember it's always okay to disagree. And make sure you respond to others the way you want to be responded to. And last but not least, of course, have fun. Also, be sure to submit your questions for Councilmembers Campos and Cohen for the Q&A session that we'll have after our presentations. All right, now please enjoy your lunch and head to your group locations like Marion mentioned before.
Commissioners, Demicole, or recess? All right, attention everyone. All right, so a few things to know first. Everyone, before we can break out, since this is an official meeting, we have to call it to order. And then secondly, when we have Chipotle, when it arrives, we're gonna go find the group. And so we'll let you know back on the night. All right, so I will now call for a recess at exactly 11:55 a.m. Do we have a motion to break for recess?
Commissioner Pradeep Kumar, a motion to recess.
Do we have a second?
Commissioner Sanchez seconds.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose? Any abstentions? This motion passes. Please choose your group and enjoy your break. Okay, I now call this meeting back to order at exactly 3:15 p.m. Welcome back from your breakout sessions. We will now move into priority group peer presentations. So first up, we have the environment.
Okay, hi everyone. We are the environments group for the budget summit. And just before we start the presentation, I wanted to ask all of you, does it feel a little like hot in here? Yeah. Yeah, well, this is a great representation of climate change. And this is exactly what we're gonna be talking about for the environment group today. Do you feel sweat sticking to you right now? Do you feel sweaty? We hope that this presentation sticks with you when you go out the building. So, yeah. And we're gonna do introductions now. My name is David.
Fiona.
Jada. Kaya. Deeksha. Vika.
Daniel.
And we're environment. Okay, so our first slide is talking about some environmental programs that the city already has. So some prominent ones are Beautify SJ, which does a lot of things like light reduction and encampment management. They do a lot of litter cleanups and litter education and dumpster days. So overall, kind of beautify our city while also helping the environment. Adopted park / trail is also what it sounds like, where people can adopt a park or trail and go and clean it up. And they basically take care of it and make sure that it's beautiful and good for the environment. Great American Litter Pickup is also a litter pickup organization, and a lot of council members host individual tree plantings or graffiti and trash cleanups.
Our city has loads of departments as well. For example, the Parks, Recreation and Neighborhood Services Department, they operate regional and neighborhood parks. For example, Beautify SJ, as mentioned, is a program that they manage, and facilities like Happy Hollow Park and Zoo, which is like an amusement park plus petting zoo, is a nonprofit that they run. In addition, San Jose Clean Energy is a local nonprofit energy supplier funded by the San Jose Energy Department, so it's a little bit more like focused on like energy solutions themselves. And it's aligned with Climate Smart San Jose, which connects to like international goals, like the Paris Agreement is like working towards carbon neutrality 2030. And they help make power accessible to the community they help provide for things like that.
So all of these departments that Deeksha just mentioned, they each have different impacts in the city. So for the PRNS, their overall budget was $183 million. And they earned a total of $8.1 billion in revenue from Happy Hollow Park and Zoo. And this shows that by investing in these kind of programs, it does have some sort of cost recovery. And then Beautify SJ has collected a total of 5,290 tons of illegal dumping. And the utility services have a lot of impacts in recycled water delivery and San Jose Clean Energy's power mix goals, which are shown by these graphs. Some future solutions for these programs is that there's been a lot of budget cuts for these programs recently, and program expansion is something that we recommend. This would be directed towards parks, service management, and long-term sustainability.
Another solution we came up with to help with a lot of the environmental challenges that San Jose faces today is to have more community engagement in education. So for example, there's already programs such as dumpster days, which are endorsed by a majority of the districts and the mayor. And it's just a day where people can come together and clean up trash and help with trash management. And so is Beautify San Jose, which is also endorsed by a majority of the districts and the mayor, and it does a lot of diverse services for the city. And it has a really measurable impact, such as we have farmers markets and fresh produce and river walks and cleanups, and all of this helps keep us in a safe and clean space, and also helps educate and engage.
And about our impacts, so for the Trash Punks, which is a organization that's hosted by the mayor and also the 6th district, it has removed 1 million pounds of trash in the past 9 years. And there like from 2023 to 2024, it's just like a time frame that I chose for example, is that as their revenue increases and the amount of budget increases, the amount of trash that they remove significantly is exponentially increased as well. So you can see that it goes from $82,000 in revenue to $200,000 in revenue. And the amount of trash they remove is not 2 times, it's 7.5 times. So this program is already working, and if we just get more funding into it, it can be exponentially greater, right? And then we have dumpster days, which like mentioned before, basically just gives an opportunity for households to throw away the things that usually cost money to throw away. And so they prevented 10.5 million pounds of trash of litter, and it's also hosted in all districts.
Here is the budget overview, and two things that my group delegated was providing clean energy to the community and sanitary sewer management. In terms of sewer water management, it is crucial to the safety of San Jose, and it also ties back into finances. An example of this would be pollution or polluted waters. Without the management of pollution, pathogens and metals can be leaked into the water, and this would lead more people to end up in hospitals. With that, there would have to be more resources to cater to all these people that aren't doing too well in a hospital. And then secondly, investing in solutions could mitigate the more expensive costs later. The longer you wait for something to get worse, the more things you will have to pay to solve the issue. And improved management reduces flooding and recycles millions of gallons of water. In San Jose, we have, when it rains, because our soil isn't as softened, it can't absorb as much water, and this water can damage housing, which is very expensive. In terms of the energy department, San Jose uses a large amount of energy and resources, so it only makes sense for us to try to lessen the environmental impact of our energy usage, and focusing on providing clean energy boosts the local economy by keeping energy dollars within local economy and reduces energy costs for local residents.
So to conclude, we want to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and many of you are on the AP side right now, maybe you've learned about this. But basically, for somebody to be fulfilled as a person and to be able to be the most that they can be, first they have to have the needs of food, water, warmth, and rest met. And environment is crucial to these needs, because for somebody to feel safe in the environment, they have to feel like the environment will be livable and be someplace that they can, it's a good place for them to be. So the budget focus affects use. What the budget focuses on affects all parts of youth health, economic stability, and safety.
And adding on, there is a carbon neutrality plan that the city was involved in that set a goal to achieve carbon neutrality by 2030. Unfortunately, as of today, we are not on track to meet that 2030 goal. So this is why environmental issues is a top priority issue that we should focus on.
And lastly, the most direct reason about why everybody in this room should be caring about the environmental sustainability of our country and our local city is because companies like PG&E are lobbying against the city and the county to take lands and build data stations which drain a lot of our waters, and is why that you guys can ask your parents, but it's exactly why utility bills are rising and water is getting more and more expensive. So if you want costs to go down, just like invest in in the city's environmental sustainability plan.
Thank you very much. Alright, next we have the housing group. And just a reminder, we're keeping these presentations 2 to 5 minutes. A little bit longer. So don't worry about time too much. Keep that in mind. I have not expected you to lose the sorry. We have them.
Good. Apologize. I said I apologize. You did a good job. What? Yeah. I feel like we're right here. Yeah.
So. I really hate people. I'm sure you guys live in houses around San Jose. San Jose is a very cool city. You have Haiti, you have Maui, you have Valley Fair. A very cool city to live in, but it's not cool. Because housing prices are insane, and I'm sure some of you might live in apartments, some of you might live in houses. But it is insane, and we're trying to continue living in like places with Maui, easy access to Haiti. We need to improve our housing affordability. So that brings us to the housing insecurity crisis. We're gonna tackle that today, so just put your money there, guys. And we'll do game intros now. Hi, everyone, my name is Kaden.
My name is Ash.
My name is Neth.
I'm Belhan.
I'm Olivia. Awesome, alright. Oh, no, that's not the first slide. Okay, so San Jose was named the least affordable city as of February 2026, just like a couple of months, like 1 month ago. And if you guys can see here, the average income is about 140,000, and the average house prices are a little over 1.3 million. Obviously, this is not ideal because we're trying to keep house prices as low as possible. So 62,000 units are being planned to build by the city by 2031. And this is a huge issue because as we're building more units, the prices of units are gonna go up because they're trying to build it next to BART stations, next to malls. And obviously this is gonna create a recurring cycle where they're building new apartments, new units, and the prices are gonna go up even though the city intends to bring the prices down. So although 90% of Measure E funds get dedicated to building these new houses, only 10% is dedicated to keeping the prices low. And the transition from interim to permanent housing needs more aggression because it's not being addressed right now by the city at all, and we need more funds, more time to be dedicated to that. Okay, so our first solution is to height zone and increase city-owned housing throughout San Jose. So we would like to reevaluate height zoning. So this means that some zones can have greater than 3 levels of their complexes. And while we do this, we want to maintain visibility. So this means near intersections, we'll have a gap. So there's street visibility and to maintain that there are no car accidents. And we will do this also in certain speed limits. We also don't want to impede bird migration or any regions where there are protected species, as well as air traffic. And we want to make sure that there's not just a random 4-story complex next to a single family home. So we want it to be delegated to certain regions. Additionally, think we perhaps want to do like New York's, if you look at that picture, there's some that have multiple levels that are higher than the ones outside surrounding it. So we want to expand outwards towards the single family homes.
Okay, so the current problem is that most houses and apartments are owned by private firms, which means that they are free to increase prices however they like, and it makes like a lot of people not be able to afford homes. So one of our solutions is to have future housing projects be directly operated and owned by city government instead of letting other corporations do it. So this way they own the lands and the buildings, so they can regulate prices and keep them low and make sure the revenue goes to the city, which will help us fund it.
All right, our next solution is to capitalize on San Jose's wealth and limit corporation access to our housing facilities.
So our first point of action would be like, when homes being bought by corporations, it can be higher property taxes level for the corporation while owning the home. So like, you know, it would encourage more individual owners of homes and, our second point actually would be in the case that a home is not a primary residence, the owner, like, say, secondary residence, a higher property tax would be levied per additional residence. Like, maybe an example would be 1% additional per, 1% additional per non-primary, you have 1% additional property tax per non-primary residence home, so like, if this is your secondary home, you get 2% property taxes, I'd say, like 1%. And we use rent limits based on square footage, slash type of apartment with, and with regulations to block corporations from passing this law by passing the tax onto residents, like by rates. The policy restricting companies from converting them into affordable housing to non-affordable housing slash non-housing. Buildings, constructions, and we require by the companies to contractually complete deals made in the sector.
In doing this, we wish to acknowledge collaboration between government, private sector, and local partners, and address the housing crisis with functional solutions. The policies proposed minimize monetary and corporate overreach, aiding working class families and young people in the process of acquiring housing. We want to change the city's housing policy to prioritize housing for all instead of all for the few.
Okay, our third and final solution is to improve housing for certain targeted groups such as senior citizens and other youth groups around town. So for targeting like the target groups, the first idea is to repurpose schools into teachers and family housing. As from all the examples that I've shown, for most people, we know that recently Toyon, Cherrywood, and Lakeville Elementary School actually closed down due to funding situations and the lack of populations. And a great way to implement that use of the space, we can use this to our advantage, basically repurposing those schools into more affordable housing for educators and family. So up there is the images of Toyon, Cherrywood, and Lakeville, and the bottom part is like also another example of how St. John Vianney converts use their spots into like a teaching, like basically a housing for 60 people.
The second part of this is senior housing. This is two examples Agri-Hood and the EAH housing. Based on 2025 Santa Clara County data, older adults age 55 plus make up 25% of the homeless population. 37% of people are situated in a car RV situation, and at least 30 are situated at shelter. So basically, we took a look at senior housing in the community centers. These are two great examples with sustainable living, and we basically want to implement that in community centers across San Jose.
Alright, so our conclusion is a very controversial one. Since the current way we have been addressing housing in the city has not been working, we're thinking outside of the box. We think the budget for housing for San Jose for the next year should be reduced. We've already reached the max in terms of budget allocated towards housing, and most of our city's budget has gone towards it. And we think reducing it would allow room for more efficient and forced innovation. Okay, basically, when we cut the funds for housing, it's gonna force the departments as well as different private and public companies to work together and to figure out new solutions since they have less funds. We're thinking this would be more efficient and force us to think outside of the box, since right now we can't think of an actual workable solution.
And by cutting funds, we don't mean like just remove all the funds. It's more like narrowing the funds down so then we can target specific areas of our housing crisis, so then we can have better solutions and better money dedicated for specific areas of the problem. So we still want the money, but cut down so we can like be more. Cool.
Alright, next up. But okay, next up we have the jobs.
They don't want money.
The resources and jobs. Come on up here.
Marion,
Yes.
so do you want us to vote for you guys if?
Nah, don't give me money, but
Don't give you money?
Thinking of the best cities.
Now say.
Okay, sure.
I wouldn't go to Now, I know we don't wanna talk about J word. J-O-B, job, but we have to face it. Hello, we are the Job and Careers Group, and we're gonna focus on solutions related to networking, career fairs, and teaching financial literacy that you guys can invest in. But first, starting off with some introductions. My name is Anushka, and I'm the District 1 Commissioner.
My name is Dali and I'm the District 5 Commissioner.
My name's Elaine and I'm from District 7. My name's Kathy and I'm also from District 7.
My name is Yash Prakash and I'm from District 8.
My name is Shravani Nadagoda and I'm from District 8.
My name is Cara Ramirez and I am from District 8.
We also had Leah Shaw in our group, but she left early.
So in terms of our statistics and the importance of the topic, as of March 2025, over 104,000 Americans averaged a 67.4% on the NFEC financial wellness test. And this just highlights a significant need for further education. According to the Spark Institute, only 18% of high school students rate their financial literacy as somewhat high or very high. This signals a widespread gap of knowledge in student loans and return of investment. And in addition to this, the latest polling shows that 83% of the respondents say the state bailiff should require semester or year-long course to focus on personal finance as a graduation requirement, according to an NEFE.
So that takes us to the problem. Youth want job shadowing / internship opportunities, and they want professional connections. This is directly from the Youth Priorities Survey earlier. However, the biggest barrier for youth is not knowing what career path they want to pursue and financial literacy. And youth want to grow their networking skills and connect with professionals in their field of interest.
And as for our goals during this presentation, we believe that youth should feel informed about their possible career options and feel supported in pursuing them. As well, we believe that youth should feel capable to handle their own finances and understand financial literacy. We feel it's even more important when we have students going to college and moving away from home, where they're responsible for navigating their own finances. And lastly, we believe that access to career workshops, career development programs, and professional networking is of high importance.
We wanted to reiterate some of the results from the Youth Priorities Survey that directly relate to jobs and careers. 10% are not at all prepared for understanding different career paths and what they involve. Around 16% don't know what career path to pursue, probably most of you here. 9.99% have a lack of information about their college options, and around 16% want connections to professionals in their fields of interest.
A lot of people, including myself, know what they're interested in, but they don't know how to turn that into a career. So one of the first solutions that we came up with as a group was career fairs. And our example throughout the entire thing was the AIM conference hosted by District 4. So we wanted to host more career fairs that represent diverse jobs. And we also want to include a virtual option, so people who aren't necessarily ready to commit to the travel or can't travel can attend as well. And then we also wanted to have fairs that were dedicated towards a certain field, so we can go in depth exploring job opportunities there. It can be healthcare, tech, law, trades, etc. And then we also want to have expert guest speakers and also Q&A for youth to just ask any questions they might have about how to get into the field and what it might entail. And then as for hosting it, we wanted to host it through the Libraries Network, so Team HQ, as well as the Youth Commission. And then we also wanted to partner with schools and districts in the area to make it more accessible.
Our second solution was networking, attending events and meeting professionals, building relationships that can help you find future jobs, finding internships that can increase your experience and knowledge in the area that you're trying to focus on, more accustomed to professional environments, learning how to communicate with others, and some available resources, getting help with headshots because that's kind of hard to find now, support with cover letters, and building your resume.
Moving on to financial literacy, we just want to bring out ideas such as simulation workshops on positive money habits and resources, and this would also include the categories at SJPL and managing debt and installments. And adding on to this, we'd also have college counselors from community colleges that will speak on financial management during college years, and they can provide worksheets and questions on annual rates where you would have to solve them.
We'd also like to reiterate on setting saving goals and comprehension of tracking. And examples are lessons on stocks and how to invest in the correct ones with a safe plan. And examples such as booming tech, such as Nvidia and Microsoft stocks, mini SJPL financial and budgeting competitions would be efficient to have students engage with financial simulation.
Thank you so much.
Alright, wonderful thoughts, parents. Next up, we have the education group.
Alright, hi guys, we're the education group. We made a pretty good slideshow, I think. We had two members that had to leave sadly, so we're gonna introduce three members that had to leave, so we're gonna introduce ourselves. My name is Edwin. Go to Hillbrook High.
I am Kyle Park. I am the District 10 Youth Commissioner.
I'm Ruby, I'm the D9 commissioner.
I'm Isaac. I'm a junior, and I'm part of Kauzia.
I'm Tim, I'm a junior and I'm in District 7. I'm Veronica and I'm in D7. I'm Subin, I'm a sophomore and I'm in D9. I'm Shreya and I'm in D10.
Okay, so first one. Okay, we want to start with the problems first. So our main issue is that funding for schools depend entirely on property value. This means that in wealthier neighborhoods, they receive more funding for schools rather than low income. And some of our funding inequalities include poor facilities, faculties, less qualified teachers, and less AP or advanced courses. Another issue is redlining. If you don't know what redlining is a discriminatory practice where banks refuse to give loans to neighborhoods with Black and minority residents, leading to long-term housing and wealth inequality. Historical housing patterns concentrate poverty in certain areas, which forces students to stay in schools with low income areas that have fewer opportunities and continued pattern of inequality without intervention.
Those problems, however, were more systemic, so we'll be discussing the results of the problems from our individual and familial and blind youth-specific vision care. The cost of living has increased by 46% since 2016, outpacing income growth in our city. This has caused families to focus on budgeting to survive, having limited access to resources for educating their children compared to their wealthier peers. Less monetary resources to pay for things like tutors or extracurricular help results in lower test scores, as well as limited higher education and career opportunities for disadvantaged students, as seen in the graph. These barriers to entry demonstrate a need for equity to help equalize the opportunity for all students, not just broadly make changes without targeted measures. We should recognize that as a city, we're limited in scope for what we can do in these institutions with deeply historical and systemic issues, but we can create programs for individual students to try and level the playing field. The city of San Jose also has public programs to address these matters, but there isn't enough publicity for them to reach all they want to.
So while brainstorming, we were kind of thinking about the question, what's the first thing that comes to mind when we think about educational equity? And the bullet points over here kind of talk about mostly all the ideas you're spitballing, and they all fit a similar theme of how educational equity it's supposed to level the playing field and have, like, in a perfect world, it should have everyone have it should let everyone have an equal opportunity, and yeah, have an equal opportunity. And we also talked about the need for quality students services that can be an equalizer against the high paid tutors that privileged students have. And these are some resources that currently exist to help with these solutions. And up here is the San Jose Public Library. And an example is the San Jose Learning Grants Program. NHS, which is the National Honor Society, which is primarily in schools, allowing for students to tutor their peers. SVCTE, which is the dual enrollment opportunity through San Jose College. And national clubs like the Rotary Club and Key Club.
And then we narrowed down all of these different ideas into two potential solutions. So our first proposed solution is to connect with different school ASBs to promote existing free education related resources. So these can be incorporated into school newspapers, announcements, and weekly or daily bulletins. And some of these resources are the ones that we mentioned in the previous slide. Kind of elaborating more on those programs, we have the SVCTE, which is the Silicon Valley Career Technical Education, which is a program that gives high school students hands-on experience in real-world career fields while they're still in school, and also gives them the opportunity to earn school credit while taking these courses. And then also the San Jose Public Library offers a lot of free programs for youth in San Jose. These include workshops on college applications, writing supplementals, and also applying for financial aid. And then a third possible program is San Jose Works, which allows youth with barriers to employment to participate in paid work experience. And then our second potential solution is to create a program to offer unpaid student stipends for certified unpaid internships. And this allows them to explore different interests and still get paid to do so, especially if they have to consider like getting a job over participating in an internship. Also, some prestigious summer programs are really expensive, like Cosmos is 5K, YYGS is 7K. And as a result, it's important that appropriate funding is provided for low-income students to ensure that they still have access to the same programs as others.
All right, finally, we have our safety group. Safety guards, come on up here.
Hi, hi guys, I'm Micah, I'm the youth commissioner for District 8. I just have a question for all of you. Who here loves crime? Okay, so that means you guys are probably somewhat interested in violence and safety, so our group has prepared a wonderful presentation for you about the budget summit for teens.
So this is just some background of violence statistics. Overall, violent crimes have declined, as well as party crime rates have largely been consistent ever since 2016. However, in early 2023 and 2025, there are peaks in these crimes as well. 2026 data shows that generally violent crimes have been declining as well. In 2024 and 2025, homicides have hit a low compared to all previous years back to 2016, sorry. Okay, and this is public safety statistics. In almost all respects, the San Jose Police Department and its projected goal for the 2024 to 2025 year. 911 calls may answer on target and priority 1 and priority 2 crimes, which are the most dangerous, they're the most threatening to life. improved relative to 2023 to 2024. There was a slight decline in overall rapidity for priority two crimes in 2016. Okay, and then these are just some survey findings. We had 60% of youth stated that violence and safety is their number one concern priority. 31% respondents stated that public spaces were unsafe to some measure, and 23.7% of youth reported that their top concern is gun violence and gang activity connected to gun violence. Moving on to Joshua.
So yeah, first problem is gun violence and we're gonna be
addressing how to solve that with gun laws. So first, what is a gun lock? A gun lock is a safety device designed to prevent a firearm from being used by someone who is not authorized. These devices make the firearm temporarily inoperable unless the owner unlocks it, which prevents like thieves from using guns that they steal and things like that. So there's different types of gun locks. But some of these are shown like cable locks, trigger locks, lock boxes, biometric locks, and macro locks. But today we're gonna be focusing on the biometric locks. So again, the overall problem, gun violence, is a huge problem in San Jose. As you can see, it's the most voice concerned by youth in the survey with 23.7%. There have been shootings in schools, malls, like the Valley Fair shooting that I'm sure all of you know. While gun locks are currently required for gun owners to own, there are no methods of checking whether these statements are true or if the gun owner actually has a gun lock. They can just say they have a gun lock and get away with not having one. And a study from Rutgers University also shows that every firearm owner has at least a gun unlocked, so this policy isn't being well enforced. Now, our solution is to draft a policy that requires every store in which a firearm is sold in San Jose to include a locking device at the time of purchase. And so the way we would do this is incentivize stores, maybe monetarily, to provide biometric gun locks with the purchase of guns. And the biometric gun lock is one of the best ways of locking guns because it only allows the registered owner to unlock the firearm using a fingerprint, which is the safest and most high-tech way of gun locks, and it can unlock a gun incredibly fast. And some other initiatives that we wanted to pursue were to provide public education during city events on safe storage and firearm responsibility in order to teach people how to use these gun locks that they purchase. And overall, this will improve gun safety in all households while maintaining responsible owners' ability to access firearms quickly in emergencies. So with that, I'll pass it on to Luke.
So the next topic that we ended up discussing is the issue of just having safe places across San Jose. So as we see, like going back to in statistics, violence and safety was rated as one of the highest priorities for youth in San Jose. And especially we can see this we can see, like, according to this data, youth voice most of the concern as safety in public transport and public spaces. So let's first define what a safe place is. Safe Place is a national program that provides immediate health and safety to youth under 18. It's designed to be a judgment, discrimination, and harm-free environment, and has trusted community locations where youth can seek help, such as at 7-Elevens, libraries, fire stations, schools, and YMCA. So some solutions that we thought of for this is using social media campaigns highlighting the existence of safe places location. Because currently in San Jose, there's 128 locations. However, those aren't really being publicized enough. And then also encouraging establishments to become safe place locations if they meet the requirements to establish themselves as one, and such as through training and proper signage. And then also a program for youth to fill out suggestions for a new safe place location, alongside any possible improvements to already existing locations.
So those were the two problems and solutions that we identified as a group. And I think Queen said this point multiple times, but violence and safety was the number one concern for youth based on our Youth Commission survey's findings. So I think this is something that you all should invest in when you guys are given the time to go, as it's something that, you know, everyone will face at some point, regardless if you're, you know, youth or like an elder person. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
We only go for our own.
Ours is.
Except in how.
It's like super.
Well, you don't give any.
Alright, commissioners, can I get a motion to move into voting for our topics?
Commissioner Sanchez, motions.
Can I get a second?
Commissioner Canfield, second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? On any abstentions? Alright, this motion passes. We will now move into voting with our money, which was previously scheduled for later, but since we have some time, we'll be using it efficiently. So, now we have come to one of the most exciting and important parts of our summit. One second.
No, we wouldn't do that. This is for everybody.
Okay, so in a moment, each of you will receive $1,000 in youth commission currency. Now, before anyone gets too excited, I should mention this isn't real money, but it represents real decision-making power in helping us prioritize the solutions we discussed today. Here's how it works. You'll have the opportunity to allocate your $1,000 across any of the priority solutions presented by our breakout groups. You can think of this being like a city council member deciding how to invest your limited resources for maximum impact. You have complete flexibility in how you distribute your money. Want to put all 1,000 towards housing insecurity? You can do that. Prefer to split it up, maybe $500 for educational programs, $300 for environmental initiatives, and $200 for safety measures? That's perfectly fine too. We've set up containers for each priority area on the wall here, and little envelopes you put the money in. Simply divide your currency according to your preferences and place it in the corresponding containers. Why are we doing this? Because it's one thing to say everything is important, but in the real life policy system, we have to make tough choices on what to prioritize and where to invest limited resources. Your allocations will help us understand not which priorities matter to you, but how strongly you feel about each one. The results of this vote will directly inform our budget recommendation in our letter to the city council and mayor. So take a moment to reflect on all the solutions you've heard today and carefully consider where you believe our city's resources could have the biggest impact on youth in San Jose. Okay, so you guys can all come up here and have your money. Does anyone not have money? Perfect. Go ahead and come up. Housing over here, balance and safety here. Education, environment.
Education is good. Education is good.
I'm gonna put $0. Everything for about.
I think I've gotten to my head.
Yeah, what happened to last?
I put one in the.
Oh, let's be on that, yeah. I know you're not. These speaking actually.
I think they like, they're cooking.
That's all we had to do was.
Well, I'd like to go.
Greater. Greater.
That was embarrassing. Do you wanna start counting down? I did. Did everybody get to vote?
Yeah.
Okay, so while they're in this next thing, I'd like to go.
Yeah. What's the environment?
Okay.
Not to education. See how they're.
Okay, everyone. That's our next event, which is our interview with Councilmember Cohen and Campbell's will not start for a few minutes. We're gonna be moving on to announcing upcoming events as well as discussing our openings to the youth commission for the next fiscal year. So upcoming events on Saturday, March 21st, we have the Creative Futures Fair at Yerba Buena High School, where small businesses can showcase their goods and services. This has traditionally been led by District 7, and this year we also have a joint culture festival joined out at that same location. I think this is really important, so if you sign up, I highly encourage you. On Tuesday, March 31st, is the last day to apply for the commission 2026 to 2027. And we will have district openings for 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, and citywide seats. On Thursday, June 11th, we have our NSC annual report presentation, where we will present all of the work we have done this year to the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee at City Council, highlighting all the ideas and feedback from today. More importantly, you'll find a QR code for today's participation evaluation at this link right here. Please take a moment to share your feedback. Please let us know if you want to earn volunteer hours for today's participation, because we can also sign off on that. All right, so going back to the youth commission openings, I just want to discuss my experience on the youth commission for a little bit while we have the time. So I started out in the youth commission 3 years ago on the District 2 and District 6 youth advisory councils as a social media manager. So I mostly got through it through networking. I kind of just talked around. I was like, hey, is there any way for me to get involved? And that's how I got involved in the YAC. Just so you know, YAC applications do not close. They're open pretty much year round at the start of the fiscal year, August to the end of the fiscal year, May. So if you guys want to do YACs, there's nothing you have to do to continue participation. But if you want to be a youth commissioner, I highly encourage you to sign up. It does not hurt to apply. District 2, Neha, over there, she's our vice chair. District 4, we have Ekshada. District 7, David. District 8, Micah. District 9, Ruby, and Lisa. If you have any questions on applying? Okay, one of our council members. Round of applause, everyone. Yes. So I also want to emphasize that if one of your districts was not called for having an open seat next year, you can still apply for citywide. I'm citywide, which means I represent all the districts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Basically, I work under the mayor and represent both his voice and also the youth voice for all of the city. So if you guys want to apply for this, I highly encourage it. Whether you are a freshman, sophomore, junior, all of them can apply, even a senior. If you plan on staying in the city, you are welcome to apply. I say it's a really good experience to get into city governance. or if you just want the experience of being able to lead meetings, if you want to run for a position, being able to read policy and being able to understand how different decisions that you make can affect how people live in the city. So yeah, any other questions?
Does everybody scan the QR code, done the participation evaluation?
That's a very important participation evaluation. If you do this, we can have an even better event next year. Next year, the AC will probably be working.
Sorry. We have all of our totals here. I know we have two. Writing down the. Is that happening? Yeah, it's fine.
You're looking at it. Daniel May Sale. What? What? Say it louder.
I didn't say anything.
Say it louder.
I'm you.
Uh-huh.
Well, because I guess. Where. I only met.
Yeah. Oh, Councilmember
No, just for, I have not.
That's the high court.
From in the front, I want to stand.
You guys should be nice to me.
Yeah.
I wish you guys would have been.
Okay,
Been at 9:30.
Thank you, Neha.
Can I get everyone's attention?
Yes. Right here.
Okay, so next we will move into our community conversation with Councilmember Campos and Cohen. Campos will be arriving in roughly 10 minutes. So Neha, go ahead and take it away.
All right, so it's my pleasure to introduce our wonderful Councilmember Cohen. And we're here to, I guess, ask questions regarding the priorities you have identified with our survey and just any other questions that you might have had from the budget summit that we have today. So I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction about Councilmember Cohen. The District 4 Councilmember David Cohen, has lived in District 4 since 1988 and spent 14 years serving on the various school board, where he focused on building strong relationships with students, teachers, and families. He helped expand access to technology, mental health services, and educational resources for students, and started a dual immersion Mandarin program. He also added social workers to each school staff. He served for 6 years on the San Jose Library Commission, advocating for longer library hours and helping to open new library branches. Councilmember Cohen also holds a PhD in chemical engineering from UC Berkeley and has worked in the Silicon Valley for over 21 years. So let's give it up for Councilmember. Okay, I wanted to start off with a little bit of a fun question. I know SJ 26 is in full swing right now. We had, the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago. We have the World Cup coming up and the Olympics in California happening, in the next couple of years. So I just wanted to ask, what events were you looking forward to, as council member?
Well, you left out my favorite, which is March Madness.
Yeah.
I'm a huge college basketball fan. I had tickets to go to the games, which are here in San Jose on March 26th and 28th. The Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games are here, so I'm really excited about that. Last year I went to San Francisco to see them, so I'm glad I don't have to do that. But having just vibrant, the excitement of having all of these things in our area has been great for our city. You can see the improvements downtown, the buzz downtown, the energy, the excitement of what's happening. Super Bowl week was a lot of fun. I went to one of the concerts, one of the nights, and spent a lot of time walking around and seeing everything. And the World Cup, I think, will be even better because it's sustained for like a whole month with different teams coming in. I was just hearing about the for one of the teams, one team will be picked to be their home base, be in San Jose. They will stay in the city for the entire month, and they will practice at San Jose State for that month, and then they'll travel to wherever their games are. And San Jose will be their hub. And then for every time there's a game, one of the visiting teams will stay in San Jose at
one of the hotels right here by the convention center. So it'll be exciting downtown. A lot of fans will be here. If you haven't had a chance to stop by our new San Jose Visitor Center and store right on San Carlos between, I think, 2nd and 3rd Street, there's a new storefront, which is a little San Jose Visitor Center that has interesting displays about things to do in San Jose, and also hats and shirts and things for sale with all of our San Jose logos. So check that out too.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's such a pleasure to see like the hustle and bustle of the city, especially during the week of the state of the city. There was so much going on with the block party, things like that. And I think it's just a great way to get the community more engaged, especially with, you know, council offices, the mayor's office, things like that. And on this point, I was just wondering if you could tell a little bit more about, you know, District 4's top priorities for this year. So as you can tell from the turnout today, a lot of youth are trying to be like more and more civically engaged. So I'm just wondering if you could explain a little bit about that.
Well, let me start by just saying it's exciting to be here again. I've always enjoyed coming to this every year. Because interacting with the youth voices is one of the best ways that I get great ideas and that we all get great ideas. And when you all get together and advocate, people listen. It's your city, you're the future, and it's really important that you continue to be engaged. So I'm really, really proud of all of you and excited to continue to be engaged with you. And just in the past, just for some context, we have put things into the budget that have come from our youth commissioners and our youth. For example, 2 years ago, we put in the budget funding to make sure that we had feminine hygiene products at all of our libraries, community centers, public spaces. That came as an idea from this group. Last year when we were here, we talked a lot about transit and transportation and your desire to have more access to transit. And I've been now, as a board member of VTA, I've been having a conversation with VTA leadership about how we can provide free transit passes for all youth in the city. I'm trying to push that idea forward. So we're working on things that I know are a priority to you. So that's a sort of a context for this conversation that we're gonna have this afternoon about the things that are on your mind this year. As far as this year's budget priorities, you know, it's a difficult year. We go through cycles in public sector where we have booms and busts. We're in the middle of a down cycle right now. Hopefully it's not as bad as the last big down cycle we had more than a decade ago, but we are definitely in a deficit situation this year, and that will make us have to make some hard choices. And we're focused as a city on efficiencies, trying to save money where we can. We do that every time, obviously. We try never to waste money, but we've scaled up a lot of programs. And now we have the opportunity to figure out how to keep those programs, but squeeze a little bit, you know, spend a little bit less to make them successful, particularly around homelessness and housing. We moved really fast to expand our homeless operations. We built over 1,000 new interim housing beds in the last couple of years. We've spent a whole lot of money operating those, and this year's year, we're going to try to go back, rebid those contracts, and make sure that we spend the right amount of money to operate all those sites. We're done expanding for now, and now it's about efficient operations. So that's number one. We're trying to figure out ways to save money in some of our largest budget items. I've been a big proponent of figuring out how to continue to expand our police department without overspending in our police department. It's a huge portion of our budget, rightfully so, but we spend a lot of money on overtime in the police department budget, and we're gonna be getting a report at council in a couple weeks on what we're doing to try to figure out how to reduce the amount of overtime spending in the police department, which will free up some more money in the budget for other things. My primary priority continues to be neighborhood services, making sure that we are still keeping our libraries and parks and community centers available to people, because those are often the first things that get cut when there's bad budget times. And so I'm focused on those basic city services that are, I think, important to our residents. You know, we get a lot of surveys from people about the things that are their priorities, and we hear is homelessness a priority, housing is a priority, cleanliness is a priority. The reason we hear that is because those are things that are visibly wrong right now. We don't usually hear from people that there's a priority when something is going well or being done right. But the minute we start to reduce services or cut things, we will start to hear about it. So I'm trying to make sure we don't put ourselves in that position. We want to continue to invest in those neighborhood services and figure out ways to save elsewhere in our budget without cutting them. So I'll say that's my priority right now.
All right, thank you for that. I think touching on your point regarding like the budget, I was wondering if there are any ways that youth could get involved in some part of, you know, this budget, and things like that. I know it's such a huge, like complicated way of like figuring it out, as like Councilmember Campos explained one time to me, but is there any way like you to get more involved in that or like attending any sessions, things like that?
Well, certainly your input is important. You know, we hear from residents all the time about things that are important in the budget, and you should provide your input. If not, I will say, you know, one way people provide input is by emailing the council, but we get so many emails, I will tell you. There are members of the council who often count and say how many say on one side or the other, but typically that's not a very efficient or effective way of understanding public sentiment. Because there can be one group that's really, really vocal and drowns out everything else. But I think getting into groups and meeting with your council members and telling them what's important to you is really important. This session is really important, and I know there'll be probably the final or some kind of report that comes out of this that you'll send up to the council about what your priorities are. I know I look at that as something really important, and I hope that most of my colleagues do too. And so just continuing to do that, I think, is going to be really important in this particular cycle. What's important to you? What do you want? You know, what do you want to preserve in the city? What do you think is going well? What do you think needs some investment? But under the caution that this year, there's probably not much room to add anything new to the budget. So as much as there might be some things that your thoughts that you have about additional programs we can create, this is probably not the year for additional programs, but it's going to be important to understand what programs you use and you want to make sure are there for you.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think that provides like a good segue into what today's event was about. In November, the Youth Commission launched its annual budget priority survey. And one of the questions that we asked was, what was the youth's like top concern or priority in San Jose? And I wanted to know like a specific data point. 60% of survey respondents stated that violence and safety were the #1 priority. And for everyone else, I also wanted to acknowledge an important piece of context for this. As I mentioned, it was launched on November 24th, 2025, and 5 days later, there was a shooting at Valley Fair Mall on Black Friday. And that could have definitely impacted these results when it comes to violence and safety. So with that in mind, a concern for many young people is the safety of the areas that they hang out with, such as Valley Fair Mall. So I wanted to ask, what steps has the council currently taken to improve the safety of these public spaces that you go to every single day? Because 31% of survey respondents felt that public spaces were unsafe to hang out in or spend time in.
Yeah, that's a very tough question to answer specifically. It's small comfort to realize that we are really among the safest big cities in the United States. Our data shows that we have relatively low violent crime in our city compared to other places, but when something happens, it's still bad. So it's not, we can't rest on the fact that we are safe and that our data shows that we're safe. What we have done in the city is beef up our ability, our investigations units. And we are very proud of the fact that we have 100% solve rate for homicides in the city. So we have a very good team of people who is very good at finding perpetrators and arresting them. So that's, making it clear to people who might do something in our community that they will be caught is really the thing that's in our control, that our police have the resources they need to do that, to find and arrest people if they are perpetrators of crime. We've done that through an extensive system of cameras in our streets that allow us to find out where vehicles go after they're involved in a crime. That has been very successful in finding people. We do have a cooperative agreement with the cities around us and their police departments and working together. We have invested in new technology in our police department to make sure they have the latest tools available. We are looking to expand our police department, and anybody who wants to go into public safety, seriously think about it. We have a lot of job opportunities. we have more openings in our police department that we're unable to fill, and we're continuing to try to fill them. So there's a lot that we're doing, the city's doing to try to be safe. The other thing that we're rolling out this year, and something I've been talking about ever since I got on council, is what's known as the police district redistricting. So you might not know, but we have in the city 16 sub-districts of the city where the police assign a certain number of people to be on patrol. And those areas, those were drawn about 25 years ago, and some areas have much longer response time than others because they have different numbers of crimes, different types of crimes, and different geographies. And so the city has the city did a study and has now put out a new map and reduced the number of districts from 16 to 12. They increased the number of officers within each district from 4 to 7. And the result of that, I think, will be better response times, better ability to get where it went to get to calls. And by this fall, that new system will be rolled out and will be very helpful in making sure that police are more visible, more around in the community, more engaged. It's also really important to understand that public safety is not what you see happening on TV with some of the national stuff. Public safety is about trust between residents and the police department. And we've done a lot in the city to make sure that our policies are clear about how police should behave and act around people, and that the police are here for you and not for anybody else. And everybody is safe in our city. Our police will be respectful. Our police will identify themselves. Our police won't wear masks. Our police will be very, but visible, but also very well trained to make sure that people feel comfortable interacting with them, because it really is, their job is made easier when they can work with the public to address concerns in neighborhoods.
Thank you so much for that answer. I know that was a really tough question and it was kind of an important thing to talk about. I thought it was good to acknowledge it, especially for youth, because I think you mentioned earlier, San Jose Ricardo is a pretty safe space. But like when, an incident such as the Valley Bridge shooting happens, it causes a lot of, panic and uncertainty. So thank you so much for that response.
And the response of the community was great too after that. We had a family near the mall who opened their house and let people who wanted to come in, no matter who they were, and people stepped up in the aftermath of that. It just shows the kind of community that we have here in San Jose.
Right. I'd like to pivot a little bit more, stay on this topic of safety, more towards public transportation. I know it's a little bit different, but referencing the same data finding, a large 37% of respondents reported that they felt unsafe using, public transportation that was available in San Jose. So I'm just curious, with the fact that public transportation is a more sustainable method of travel, it has numerous benefits. And with many youth reporting these safety concerns, how is the city working with maybe transit agencies to improve both actual safety and the rider's safety? So.
Yeah, I was just at Piedmont Hills High School on Thursday at an event there, and I was talking to them about transportation, and I asked them if they ride, and their response was that they're not sure they feel safe riding. So I'm hearing this from lots of places, and it's an important topic, one in which I don't know that I have a good answer for now, because there's both safety and perceived safety, and those are both. It's important to address both of those. It's a topic that I'm on the VTA board, which is the leadership of the Valley Transportation Authority, and it's a topic that I'm going to make sure that we're addressing. One thing that they've done, we've been working hard with VTA, is cleaning up and making our bus stops and light rail stations look better, so that they are because many of them were run down or had a lot of graffiti and they just make people uncomfortable. So they've gone through and they've actually improved and fixed the look and feel of our stations, and that's important. Our buses are maintained and cleaned daily, very, very thorough process. But obviously one person on a bus that seems unsavory can make everyone very uncomfortable. We do have, there's a process in place with cameras on buses and a system for drivers to report. But it's an interesting conversation about how can drivers help customers and riders feel like they're being cared for when they're on the bus. So it's definitely something I'm thinking more about, especially since I've been hearing this concern in multiple places.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think transportation is also a priority a lot of our youth advisory councils have. I like to call out Commissioner Canfield from District 6. I think their YAC was working on a project regarding like evaluation of different bus stops in their district around San Jose. So I'm really excited to see like, where that project goes as well.
And really, the other piece of it is that the more people that are on transit, the more safe you'll feel. Because if you're alone, you're one person by yourself or just a small group, it can feel overwhelming. So like right now, if you're on Caltrain, which is full almost all the time, you don't really feel unsafe there. But when you're on a bus and you're the only person on the bus, it can feel a little bit scary. So we have to figure out how to, our main goal in transit is to increase ridership, make our trains and buses run more frequently, move faster. We know that if we increase the speed of trips by about 15%, we can increase the ridership by 30 to 40%, because the more convenient it is and quicker it is to get places, the more people will get. Those are the goals that the system has.
Okay, thank you so much. I'd like to move on to our next topic, which is housing and affordability. This is a new aspect that was incorporated into our survey this year, and I wanted to just talk about how 56% of the survey respondents said that housing affordability was a top concern for them. And we hear a lot of things like San Jose is so expensive, it's so expensive to buy a house in San Jose, things like that. And that being said, many young people worry that even if they grow up here, they won't be able to, afford to live here as adults. So I wanted to ask what strategies is the city exploring to ensure that this may not be a problem for, us when we're older and we need to like buy houses and things like that. How can you realistically build their lives here in San Jose?
Yeah, that's an important question, and one that was important to me when I first ran for this, thinking about my kids who are now in their 20s and whether they're gonna be able to come back when they finish college, or they already both gone out of state, but they both wanna come back. But will they be able to afford to come back? I don't know. So we're working on making sure we build more housing. On the state, the real problem is this has been decades in the making. We're way behind on the number of housing units we need for the population we have. And we have to build more. We have to do it as quickly as possible, but it's not easy because it's expensive to build housing. And right now, many developers are finding that it's not easy for them to get their projects built. We as a city have lots of land set aside for housing. Our role is to approve projects and make sure the land is zoned so that people can build. But our role as a government is not to actually build the housing, because it takes developers with money to build them. So we have to figure out how to improve our planning approval process, our permitting process, to make it faster, so it's cheaper for people to build. And so we as a city are streamlining our permitting processes, but we also are gonna need some external help. There's role for the state and federal government to play in subsidizing and helping build housing. And we have to build housing of all types. We have to build more market rate housing, because there are a lot of people who are in homes who are taking up homes that could go onto the market that are older. But if there was something new, they might move there and create more vacancies. So we need to build a lot more market rate housing. We have to build a lot more affordable housing. Housing that is deed restricted, that will allow people who are working class to be able to live in them. And we're doing all of the above strategy in San Jose, but unfortunately, it's a problem that has been, like I said, decades in the making, and it's probably gonna be decades in solving. But I know that now my colleague who's very involved in housing issues is here to solve the problem. So, but anyway, that's my answer at this point. We're building a lot in San Jose. We did a lot to streamline planning. We did a lot to incentivize development, and in my district alone, in North San Jose, we have 3,000 housing units under construction right now. So we're gonna need to build tens of thousands more.
Yeah, I think I wanted to reiterate like a statistic that one of our groups put on their slide deck when it came to housing and affordability. I think it said the average cost to buy a home in San Jose was 1.37 million. And I think the average income of like a San Jose resident was like much lower than that. So I think the disparity is something important to note. And I think that's also why it's a huge concern for you, because we hear, our parents and older people talking about, all these concerns regarding housing, things like that. And we just want to ensure that won't be a burden for us, when we're older as well. And I wanted to also introduce Councilmember Pamela Campos. She represents District 2 and is the youngest woman ever to be elected on San Jose City Council. She's also a proud daughter of immigrants who grew up right here in South San Jose, attending Horace Mann Elementary and Gunderson High School. She was the first in her family to earn a college degree from San Jose State University. And before joining the city council, she spent over a decade in education as a preschool teacher and later worked to expand economic opportunities for families. She previously served as a chair of the Policy Advisory Committee for the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. And she also advocated for equity in regional transportation. So can you guys give a round of applause for her? So Councilmember, we were just talking a little bit about housing affordability, and the question I was asking Councilmember Cohen was, what strategies is the city exploring to ensure that the next generation of San Jose can afford houses and realistically build their lives in San Jose?
And, it sounds like, oh, there we go. I heard Councilmember Cohen talking about zoning changes and that kind of policy, and so, absolutely. That is, can you talk about is it SB 79 transit? So one of the things that we recently did at council was adopt a new state policy. It's SB 79, which is increasing the density of housing in the areas around transit centers. And so when we're thinking about building housing for the next generation, it's so important that we are looking at opportunities like building housing close to transit as dense as possible, because we also want to incentivize the use of public transit. We know that we have climate goals that we need to reach, and unfortunately, we don't have much funding from the state to implement those policies. But what we can do is we can think about the other ways that we can achieve those goals, even if we don't have new money to put towards those goals. And so when you look at the top contributor to pollution, especially air pollution in our area, it's related to single-use vehicle travel. And so when we have housing that doesn't require you to have to drive to places because it's close to a transit center that has the grocery stores and the community services and amenities that you need to live a fulfilled life in your neighborhood, like that is the goal and the aspiration that we're working towards through policies like that, and through making sure that we as a community are talking about how positive that is, because sometimes change comes with a feeling of discomfort for different neighbors throughout our city. And I always like to remind folks that when we're building today, it really is for tomorrow, it's for the future. And so sometimes we do have to think about how we can move through that discomfort, because there is something better on the other side for us.
Right, and I think you mentioned, I guess, housing that had to do with close proximity to transit. But I think we were just talking about transportation before, and I guess what measures the city of San Jose was taking to make sure that transportation felt safe for you, to use. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that as well.
I'm here to learn and hear from you all as well. Like, what is it that we can be doing to make transit safe? Because I remember last year being in this room and hearing from you all that public safety, especially in terms of feeling safe enough to ride our public transit system, was a top concern. And so, whether it's cleanliness, whether it's personal space, whether it's lighting, those are things that can be addressed. And so if there's, any specifics that can help us understand what kind of elements of public safety we need to be thinking about.
All right, and also referencing what you said earlier about the things we're building today will definitely help, the people of tomorrow and I guess our next generations. I wanted to ask a question that was one of our attendees here today, and they asked, how does the city plan to address the introduction of AI and its impact on the job market, especially as, younger people are starting to enter the labor force? So a little bit of a shift from housing and stuff like that, and more into like career and I guess the opportunities available for youth that increase AI.
So the question I heard was, how is the city thinking about AI in terms of jobs for the future? And so I understand that right now, through our city budget, we have invested in those kinds of programs and opportunities. There is Work to Future, for example, which is a nonprofit partner that helps connect youth in our area to jobs. And they have pathways and career exploration in the AI sector. So the city has definitely invested in those skills, if that is something that folks are looking for.
Sorry. And maybe it's the heat too. So this really is the hot seat.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have to make sure that our universities, our schools are training people for this economy. My belief is, and I know there's some jobs that will change and be affected by AI. My belief is that there's also a lot of opportunity that will be created by AI, new types of jobs that will be created. The way we're looking at AI in the city right now is as a tool to enhance productivity, not a tool to replace anybody. While there's a lot of horror stories about it, what I think we're experiencing now is that it requires well-trained, good people to use it correctly. And it's not a tool that works on its own, that does anything by itself. That you need somebody who knows what the right questions to ask AI are and whether or not, and what the answer means and how you can use that answer. So it requires people to be educated. And we are bringing those tools in, but I actually think the tools for now are adding value that allows people to do their jobs better and smarter, but doesn't change those jobs. So we have to be thoughtful about what we do with AI. We have to be willing to regulate when necessary the use of AI. We shouldn't be using AI, to watch over people, to do surveillance on people while they're at work. There's some things that are a little bit worrisome, but we need to make sure that as policymakers, we are aware and we are thoughtful about how we implement those tools.
Yeah, I think the fact is that like using AI as like a tool for productivity rather than like something that we think is gonna replace us or something we should be really scared of is something that, I don't know, is not seen by a lot of people. And I think it's largely due to like what the media says regarding AI, things like that. And I just wanted to ask, does the city of San Jose have any plans to like, I don't know, educate people on AI, things like that, and the way the city is planning to use for productivity? If that makes sense.
I think there are programs the city is doing to allow help people understand what we're using, what tools we're using, and how we're using them. I think the city has to be clearer about what we're doing and how we're doing it. But I think that there's also going to have to be an expectation that it's not up to the city and public entities alone to be that educator. That there's going to have to be programs created in schools to help people understand what is the responsible way to use AI and what are the skills you need to have to use it correctly.
I know that early on in my first year, one of the community meetings I attended, the city was presenting a PowerPoint or like a presentation on AI and trying to help people understand, like, is this an AI image or is this a real image? What are the things to look for? Because it was coming at a time where people were getting a lot of scams, the voice mails. And so definitely, as a city, I believe that if we are going to be leading in AI, we also have to be making sure that we're doing so in a safe manner and making sure that our community knows how we're doing it in a safe manner. And just to talk a little bit about what Neha was saying, and will AI eliminate our function and jobs? And I agree completely with Councilmember Cohen. I think that it needs to be a tool that enhances the way that we do our work. And also, there's work that AI will never be able to do for us. There's work that only humans can do, and that's one example of that is care work. raise your hand if you've seen videos of Punch the Monkey online, right? And he is cuddling up with that orangutan because or she is, because as a baby, you need that comfort, you need that care, you need that like physical touch to thrive. We've seen psychological studies done on human development where you can have food, you can have water, you can have safe shelter, but if you don't have that human contact, your ability to thrive decreases. And so AI can't give us human contact. In the earliest and the latest stages of our lives, we need humans there caring for us. And so I know that it is everywhere these days and it has its place in our society, but there are things that are so important to us being able to survive and function as a society. So there will always be a place, a career and a space for you, even in the world in the face of AI.
I'll just add too that one place the city will play a role is in our libraries, because this is where people learn how to use information, how to receive information, how to evaluate information. And this has been over decades, over probably centuries, libraries have evolved as new media have been created. How do we use, back when I was growing up, how do you use an encyclopedia and understand what information is good and bad information? How do you know how to use citations to check? And how do you do multiple checks of what you see online? People are gonna have to learn that when you see something, you have to actually do research to make sure it's real. Libraries and schools are where people will learn digital literacy and how to evaluate information that we're seeing for whether it's trustworthy or not. So the city will obviously continue to play a role in making sure that our libraries have the tools to teach people about that digital literacy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing, more programs and especially libraries that teach, more about AI and digital literacy. And I think our time is running out a little bit, so I'm gonna move on to our very last section, which is youth opportunities to engage in government, which is, kind of what this event is about. And as you guys can tell, youth civic engagement is a topic that's been on the rise, especially when it comes to like future plans to the city. And that being said, when we asked youth of San Jose if local government reflects the youth priorities, over 50% of survey respondents said they didn't know how the city's priorities reflected their concerns. And with that, I wanted to ask, what opportunities do each of your council offices have for, youth to get involved, like directly with, decisions that are made at council office, or ways for them to volunteer? Because I know the youth commission and YAC, like youth advisory councils, are great ways to do so, but there are oftentimes concerns that people want to like directly ask council members, and I was just wondering, what opportunities you guys had.
So did you say that the survey said didn't know? 50% of the respondents don't know, so they're not aware of what's going on at city council meetings. Well, I'll say for you all, for those who asked the question, like what can be done, and today showing up, this is the first thing, this is the first step of what can be done, right? Leadership, the most important thing is showing up, right? That's what folks say. And so I think that there is definitely an opportunity for government to better invest in our youth, because one thing that you all can do that we can't do as easily is connect with youth who are younger than you, and also connect with old adults, people who are older than you. I think that that is a huge strength and a huge asset that we in government are not doing enough to make sure that our families really have the information that they need to know and understand what's going on in our city. I'll give you all one example. Raise your hand if you know what the Santa Clara Valley Water District is. Okay, it seems like about a quarter of the room. So they are another government agency, and one of the things that they do is encourage us to be wise about our water usage. And about a decade ago, they had this rebate program. So if you changed your lawn from grass to water tolerant drought tolerant, water resistant landscaping, you could get some money back. But as the daughter of an immigrant family and the person who would translate for all of all the paperwork for my parents, I didn't know what a rebate was. And so they paid all this money to change the lawn, and then we could have got some money back, but we didn't know. And it wasn't until years later that it clicked for me what a rebate was and that we had qualified. And so if there was someone who was helping, you know, a young person like me, who is the closest representative between my family and government and English speaking institutions, then that's where youth become an asset, because we can help our parents understand and know about programs and services they might not otherwise know exist. We can also help make sure that the kids who are younger than us have access to resources and services too, if they need to understand that First Five is an agency that helps kids, that the county provides services. I think that, again, as a government agency, these are questions that I ask myself constantly. What is it that we can be doing to invest and do the outreach and make sure that you all have a platform to, you know, really, be seen and, feel heard in our city?
Yeah.
I'll just say, and kind of addressed this a little bit before, so I'm not gonna say much, but that we're living right now through crazy and scary times. And what I get hope from is the way people of your generation are responding to it and are organizing around it and are taking action. Just the idea that, for example, I said I was at high school the other day, there are large clubs forming of people who want to be involved in politics, want to understand what's going on. That feels like a new movement of people of your generation that I think is hopeful for the future. So just continuing to do that and engaging with your friends and being knowledgeable is really most of what it will take. And you know, people like us do this. You know, we're trying to make lives somewhat better for people currently, but the real goal is to make lives better for the next generations that are coming. So it really is all about your needs and what it is that will make your futures better.
All right, thank you so much for those responses. I wanted to end with one question, sorry. This is just, what initially inspired both of you to pursue public policy? And if you could give one piece of advice to the youth that are here today, what would it be? In like one sentence or one?
I was just asked this question on Thursday. It's interesting. I was in a room with Supervisor Ellenberg, and two of us were asked this question, and she told an interesting story, which was kind of a gender different story about studies say that women get involved in politics because of something that triggered some issue that they had or something that upset them, whereas men often get involved because they just kind of generally want to make community better or be engaged. And I don't know what Councilmember Campos' story is, but you know, I just felt a connection with my community and always wanted to address a whole lot of different things and focus on the day-to-day lives of residents in my neighborhoods around me, and make things better for my kids and for the people who live there. So that's kind of my motivation. I feel the feeling of going around, of being in a community and seeing things that are improving because of work that we're doing collectively gives me great satisfaction, and that's why I do this.
Everyone says that politics are personal, and that's 100% true, and a big part of why I decided to run for city council. As I said, I'm the daughter of immigrants. I studied child development and worked as a preschool teacher, one of the lowest paid careers in our entire US workforce. And I was seeing that not only does it pay low, but I was also seeing my colleagues with master's degrees having to make the difficult decision of taking a step back from their work so that they could be full-time caregivers to their children, because even though teachers weren't being paid enough, parents were still being charged a lot of money right now. It's more expensive to send a child to preschool than it is to pay for college tuition at a school like San Jose State. And so issues like that were what inspired me to run for city council, because having leaders who are really bringing a voice to the issues that so many families in our community are struggling with, and especially in an area like early education, where it is 90% women-led workforce. It's really important to make sure that we have full representation of the diverse backgrounds that San Jose has. And so with that, I would say my piece of advice to you all is that anything and everything that you do, bring your joy into it, because it'll help you do it in a way that is best and that really reflects who you are. I think that so many of us, hopefully many of us in this room, have been overjoyed by Alyssa Liu and her representation of the Bay Area at the Olympics, and her representation of your generation, of someone who is really leading with passion and joy and commitment to themselves. And I think that that is what really resonates with me in terms of sharing advice, because your biggest cheerleader has to be yourself. And so if you are making sure that you're putting your joy first and foremost when you're making big decisions, like where you want to go to school or what you want to do with the rest of your life when you get there, or if you want to join a club or, you know, sign up for the youth commission, like these are all big decisions, and just, you know, put your joy into it, and it'll be the best experience that you have.
All right. We're not having a play afternoon answering these questions. The two of you could stick around to take a group photo with our entire group today, that would be great. Thank you, everyone.
All right, everybody come to the front for a photo.
It's not the first one. It's like the fifth, like, all the afterthoughts were like exploding in our face. Thank you. Yeah, we're getting some calls.
Watch out.
All right. All right, you guys all want to gather in.
Hi.
I use this for like all the things. Maybe. Yeah. If I could get those mixers for the front, maybe kind of squat down just a little bit. I need you guys to move in like tighter. We're getting close. I know it's very warm in the room.